Hello and good evening, Cosmic Explorers, and welcome to your Friday night tune up. It's been a month since we've been together, Rebecka. You left me, and then I left the show, and then I left you.
You
I
know,
talk about
that's how
abandonment issues.
we have been showing what ebb and flow is all about. So it's been I've been on a beautiful adventure. You've been on you were on an adventure, going
My
through the
first
hurricane. And
hurricane.
yeah, I told Hillis, I'm like, you know what, you need to just get over it. That was your first hurricane, get over it. You live in Florida now. This is just what happens. So it is
It is.
part
It
of living
really
in
is.
Florida.
And I just want to take a moment to express thanks and appreciation, deep appreciation for the love, the prayers, the donations that I've received in the past week. It's really helped me to, get things in order. As you can see, I don't have my usual background up. I'm in midst of transitions right now. So next week I'll be back in the full swing. But talking about full swings, I mean, you were on the whirlwind for 3 weeks, and then we have a very interesting person with us this evening.
Yes, I have been. Yes, I was on, as everybody knows, I did the show last week. I was in England for 3 weeks, having just the most miraculous time and just touched my heart with my experiences I had. And one of the experiences I had was with a gentleman that I have to say comes from the heart in the work that he does. And it was such an honor to be in his presence. It was an honor to be able to experience his work. And I just, as I said, I can't explain. As you know, I'm one to flow from the heart and from the truth, and I love to find people in this world that are working from that place, and this gentleman is, and he surprised us, and he's going to join us tonight, and especially around what's going on, what the beautiful work that he does in this world, which is so needed, and he's joining us this evening around Halloween time when kind of all this might come up a little more than normal. And his name's Paul Devlin, and the work that he does is spirit rescue. He works in therapy, and he also does exorcisms. So just kind of a different guest than we normally have, but it's just so profound, and I'm so excited to talk about this subject in the way that he works with spirits and he works with energies and he opens up to clear and help people at a level that is so misunderstood in this world right now. So, at further ado, we're going to bring on Paul.
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, Paul. Welcome to the show. So great to have you and for you to represent the energy that you do hanging out with us tonight. And so what really piqued my interest was spirit rescue. I mean, what is that?
Well, spirit rescue is basically for spirits or souls that were human and were for some reason end up being trapped on this earth or on this plane. They may be not prepared. They may not get prepared for death. They might have unfinished business on this plane. And my job is that people contact me and call me in to. Sorry, my cat's going crazy at the moment.
We're used to that.
Yeah,
it's just running around these shows.
Loving the energy. So basically, my job is to sort of go in and help people with people who have issues with spirits that are in distress. Really, I mean that's a very sort of tip of the iceberg version of spirit rescue. But I mean, there's as you said, there's a whole host of other stuff that I do. But I mean, spirit rescue, I've done nearly 400 now. I've been up this for kind of on 25 years. Each one is different. Each one is incredible. Some are easy, some are very difficult to perform, and they all require a bit of sort of detective work, and they all require you to be polite because you're going into people's houses, believing
No.
situations that a lot of people don't always believe in. So it's a very delicate situation when you could get called into people's houses.
Exactly.
It is. And so, you know, I guess it goes without saying that you say people contact you. Now, do spirits also contact you as well? It's like, hey, I need help. Can you help me? Is that like a thing with you as well?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Not that often, but it does happen. You have to sort of tread very carefully, because I mean, if a spirit gets in touch with you, then you normally you could be sort of just walking down the street or driving your car or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
a certain, you know, ornament, object, or sacred place, and if they sort of convey that message, then yes, I will help. But with people of the living, they will normally contact me for help. It's not really sort of a done thing if people if you go to them, oh, by the way, you've got that in your house. And sometimes you walk down the street and see something looking out the window, you know that be there. But there again, it's not your place to interfere, if you see what I mean. So there's a very fine balance between it.
Mm-hmm. So
Now,
Paul,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying. So it's such a unique work that you do, really, in some aspects. What could you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you were drawn to do this work? I know there's layers to your work, but the spirit work and everything. I'd love to hear your story on how you were kind of drawn, or the journey you took to embrace this work. That, you know, it takes a lot to be able to do some of the work that you are doing.
I just have to take you on a short journey at the moment. Sorry, hang on 1 second. I know we're live and everything, but
it's okay. This is what we do.
It is free flowing.
It's free flowing. So while you're going in, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and a lot of people are telling you hi. So
hello. So okay, I'm back. Right. So my journey started nearly just sort of under 30 odd years ago, I think, just over 30 years ago. And I was working as a taxi driver, and my friend kept saying to me, you've got to go and see a medium. You've got to go and see a medium, this particular medium. So I did. And when I went to see this medium, she just said, Spirit's saying, it's about time you got here. And she just basically lifted the veil, and I'd been totally closed off until that point. I'd very little experiences, if I'm honest. And then once that veil was lifted, I was able to feel, I was able to sense, and even that night after I left the readings, I was working night shifts. I remember coming back from a job, and the back of the cab was empty, but I knew it wasn't. And I was just like, "Hi guys, how's it going?" And that was the start of it, and it went on from there to doing psychic development. Then it went to I was only sort of half, sort of, you know, very early developmental stages to sort of psychic stuff, if you like. And then from that point, I moved to Manchester, ended up in a house that was really, really active. I didn't have the abilities back then to deal with any of it, and it was probably the most scariest thing I'd been involved in. I reached out to somebody, they helped me sort of clear this property, and that was kind of another set of the journey to doing sort of paranormal investigations and stuff, which then went spirit rescue, which then went for many years, which then turned into exorcism, which then turned into therapies and energy and block removals, and it just snowballed from there. So there's a whole host of things that happened in a sort of 25-year sort of period of time.
Gotcha.
So Paul, I want to ask you, have you ever heard of the comic book character Constantine?
Yes, I have.
So everything that you're describing right now is reminding me of this character. And I feel like somebody may have followed you through your whole life and made him based off of you. I mean, because everything that you're expressing here is being of service to spirits and to allow yourself to surrender to what is being needed and what's being asked. And not everyone has the tenacity or the strength to step into this. And most of it, you're stepping into this probably blindly, right? You pretty much have an idea, but don't have the full scope of what it is because every situation is different.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to be mindful of what you're stepping into, and it's also important to understand that for these people, although you might deal with this, on a weekly basis, but for the people you're helping, it's to the point where they are at the they're at their wits' end. They don't know what else to do, and that they call on services that they probably didn't even know existed.
Right.
And I think the important thing is that when you go into people's houses or you talk to people on the phone for the first time, to kind of gauge what's going on and how you're going to sort of deal with those situations. It's very much a people line of work, because you have to communicate with the people in order to help spirit or to help with possessional either objects or beings, and more importantly to help people who have blocks in their life and have had blocks in their life for many years. So I think it's down to being humble and being without being over egotistical.
Yeah.
Stay in that space. Go ahead,
It is,
Melissa.
and just as you're speaking about this, and Rebecka and I, we do similar work, but not in the depth that you do. And what's coming to my mind is when you're working with these people, and I feel like most of it is performed inadvertently. Like most of these things happen because people don't have the proper knowledge, or they are in a space of desperation, or just in a lower vibrating frequency or energy field. Is that typically the case when you're dealing with attachments or possessions or anything of that nature?
With possessions, there, to my knowledge, there are two ways of possession. Low vibration and low frequency things can come in. They're either called in, or something has instigated that. There are other ways. So for people could get over time a possession sort of infection, as I like to call it. So if we don't deal, because I think what's important here is that we have the capability to heal ourselves, but we've lost capabilities to deal with ourselves, to heal ourselves, because as you grow up, you've been told, you pop a pill if you don't feel well, rather than actually heal yourself. And what happens in some level of possession, negative energy gets stuck to certain people, which kind of is very close to mental health. I'll come on to that in a minute. Negative energy, or taints as they're called, attached to people, and when there are enough taints, they perform they go into like a consciousness, so an understanding of negative energy, which can then enter the body, and then once it's in the body, it goes to the central nervous system. So there's that form of negative energy, or there's the type that people can call in, or it might have already been in the house that you might have moved into. So there's lots of different situations that I find myself faced with on a pretty much weekly basis.
So thank you for sharing that, Paul.
And I find this subject so it's actually really important to talk about nowadays, especially right now with the way the world is and everything that's coming up and all the negative energies that are coming up to the surface and everything. What would you recommend, or if anybody's out there that's maybe struggling and, you know, of maybe thinking something's attached to them or possession, do you have anything you can recommend to any listeners right now to maybe help assist them in that situation without getting professional, you know, just to help them to maybe ground, or anything you can recommend until they can get, or to even see, you know, if it's a real attachment or any possession or something like that, or any suggestions you can give for
Yeah, sure. I mean,
that are struggling, that might be listening right now, just need a little something to maybe help them.
I think with attachments is different to a possession, but I think using, you know, when you're beaten down with these things, it's very difficult to say be positive. That's very difficult to do. I would always say to people, if you feel that something like that is happening to you, then keep a diary, because these things normally follow a pattern. And once you start to document what's going on, you can normally read through and find those bits. But on top of that, I think it's good to keep your place light, keep positive music around you, keep positive things around you. Even if you're not positive yourself, put something on the telly that's positive, put positive music on. Some people find mantras and stuff quite useful, but there's a lot of self-help stuff out there that can help us. I know that there are some very good books out there that can help. There are some very good meditations that are available to help people. If you're to the point where you can't concentrate, then I would always say use music, use sound and vibration. That is the thing that works. If you're not in that space mentally, then you can click the play button. Find something that will, even if it's not, you're not in the right space, you can affect something that's within you or attached to you by playing positive, because you're sending it a message. Or even, like, you know, place imaginary mirrors around yourself, so whatever they throw at you, you're throwing it back at them. So I think the mirror thing is a very good thing as well. That's not being aggressive, you're just protecting yourself.
Exactly.
And I like that, you know. And sometimes, you know, and I'll be one of the first ones to admit this. You know, we talk about protection a lot, you know, and, you know, one who teaches and practices about the law of vibration, you know, when you speak about protection in the sense of, oh, you know, I got to protect myself from this, I got to protect myself from that, and yada, yada, yada. And it also, you know, puts the attention on what it is that you don't want to invite in. So if you are in a space of constantly talking about protecting, in a way, you're almost inviting other energies in to say, hey, here I am, you know, but at the same time, there's also a different kind of protection. I think this is the protection you're talking about, is protecting yourself with the energy of love, you know, protecting yourself with the energy that's already here, as opposed to, you know, reaching out and trying to grab something else to help shield you from anything that you call in inadvertently or purposefully, or anything that wishes to harm anyone. Because I think the aspect of us wanting to connect to our soul, connecting to our higher self, connecting to these other energies, because we all know that there's more there. We all understand that there's more than us, especially now that everything is becoming more thin and more apparent. And it is in these actions that some people take without the proper wisdom, knowledge, or guidance that they open up these other channels to become a vessel for whatever else that is in the space. And wouldn't you agree that right now, or let me even ask you, in the past year or even a few years, have you seen an uptick in your business because of the energies that are coming in on the planet right now?
Yeah, I mean, since since the COVID, when everybody was kind of locked in their homes, there were a lot of, when it was lifted, there was definitely an upsurge in my work, because people were, the world was filled with a lot of negativity. And the minute that people were allowed back into the home, people come and help me. Can you come and help me? Can you come and help me? So yeah, it did, and that's not over. That's still going on. That we are still fighting, and I'll use that word. You're still fighting this battle. That is, it comes up weekly at the moment, and I think the important thing is I need time to process some of the stuff that's going on, but it's definitely had an impact on the business. And to add a point to that, I don't enjoy sort of seeing people in a distressed state. When I go to the house, I see people. I don't enjoy that, and a lot of the time it's down to other things that have caused those issues, which could have been avoided. But the upturn of work is from 4 years ago has doubled, especially in sort of the negative energy sort of side of things, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand it. And with that being said, I know that you have something near and dear to your heart that you want to talk about, but I think Rebecka had a question that she wants to get into first before we get into your heart question here.
My question went boom. I forgot it, so I guess.
So I know there's something that...
but I know what you're about to talk about. So, one, I'd like to get in some, if you'd like to share some stories and some experience you had, but I know something, especially now, what we were just talking about, the work that you're doing and the protection and everything. And I know one thing that is a big component with you is the use of Ouija boards and children using them and things like that, the dangers of playing with them. And I like you to, I would love for you to talk about that, to put the awareness out into the world around them, so people can be, really understand what they're working with when they work with these things, and that,
Yeah, because I never really understood the whole Ouija board thing to begin with. I mean, I saw movies about it, and I never, touched one personally per se, but it's just always fascinates me, and like, why? And so, yeah, Paul, explain to us the importance of not doing this.
Well, at one point, 75% of my work was based on Ouija boards, where people would have done these. And the big retail giants have taken it upon themselves to sell Ouija board games and specifically target them to children. Now, when you're born, you have a clean slate. Kids have a lot of innocence, but to channel on a board that can basically open up anything, is a very dangerous thing. You're potentially messing up that child for life. And there was a big company called Toys R Us, which is now bust. We had dealings with the English side of it, and managed to speak to the managing director and said, look, you know, you can't be selling these boards for these kids. And you know, they did stop selling them eventually, but we all know what happened to Toys R Us. You know, whether that's karma, I don't know. But you know, a lot of people will turn around and go, oh yeah, it's just a load of rubbish. And most people, when I go to a case, the first question I ask anybody is, has anybody in your family ever done a Ouija board? And 9 times out of 10 they'll go, yeah, I did it 10 years ago, I did it 5 years.
Did you really, Rebecka?
Years ago.
And people do, you know, that's they're very manipulative, because what happens is that you might be with your mates, which is normally the case, you know, drinks or whatever. Let's try the Ouija board. You know, the film industry doesn't help it either, I have to say. And it's, you know, you're all having a good time and the board's open, you're getting answers. But when the board's shut down and the party's ended, you might have several not very nice things trapped in your house, and they now can't get back. So they cause issues with you. And one of my most serious cases was, in this country we do sometimes they do like a flat swap or a house swap or something. You know, you can go live in that person's house and they'll change properties. And this guy said, you know, I want to do a flat swap with a 21-year-old girl who had 2 young boys. And she moved into this property where this guy was living, and it was teeming, you know, lights on and off, you know, things smashing, beds moving, you name it. You know, to young kids and a young mum, it's a terrifying thing. So she contacted the guy who they swapped with, and he went, yeah, we used to have parties every Saturday, Ouija board parties. So after 2 years, when it got too much for him, he decided he was going to move out. And then the 21-year-old lady moved in with her 2 kids, who were then were traumatized for the next 6 weeks until I was able to go in, and it took me a good 5 weeks to clear everything. Wow. I think we sort of, I mean, I brought some other people in who I worked very closely with at the time. I think we looked at 32 spirits in the end.
Wow.
Talk about Ghostbusters.
Well, the weird thing is when we turned up to that property, there were about 20 people waiting outside the property, and they all sort of followed me in. It was weird.
Real people or spirit people?
Real
Okay.
people. Real people.
I mean,
it got round the close that you know, these people were coming to try and sort this problem. And I remember walking in this house, and everybody just followed me. And then I just turned around and went, right, who's the lady, or whatever her name was? And she put her hand up at the back of the kitchen. I went, right, everybody else out. You know, unless you've got a close mate or what, you know, who wants to stay, which they did. So it does attract attention, but I try not to attract attention to myself, because there are people out there who go with their, you know, Ghostbusters or paranormal investigators or any of that stuff, you know, tatted all over their backs, and cards and splattered all over the car and all that sort of stuff. But if you want to go and help somebody, or they've called you in, the last thing they want is a vehicle that's going to have it
more attention.
Because, you know, I don't even carry cards with me these days. It's just, here's my number, there's a website, that's it. You don't need to know anything else, because
Mhm.
you have to think of those people have to live in that place after you've gone.
Yeah.
You know, to live in that area. You know, it is tempting to get that kind of clothing to some people, but in the work I do, you have to think of other people.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and
So,
I think no, go ahead, Rebecca.
no, I was just saying, in saying that, if can you give any, I know not to use them, but if somebody decides they want to, any suggestions to protect the board or how to close, or anything you can give if somebody makes the choice and is listening to this and does choose to play with one, that you could suggest to protect themselves and protect, their environment? A
Well,
quick little
what I would
possibly
say,
do.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Rebecca, I wouldn't say use them,
Mhm.
because unless you are a professional, and there are people out there who are professionals and they use them. There's a couple called the Ouija board sisters who've written some very good books,
Mhm.
which teach you how to protect boards very well. I wouldn't know what to sort of say. All I'd
Okay.
say is not to use them, because to be honest with you, what you're opening up, you can't always be protected for.
Exactly.
Even if you do use a protection prayer, or you might use something that is significant of a spiritual Faraday cage or something like that.
Mhm.
But you never know what you're going to
What
invite
you're gonna
into.
tap into. Mm.
Especially if you know what you're doing and you've been doing it for a long time, or somebody who really does know what they're doing, then have them there. But I wouldn't suggest that, oh, I've got an idea, let's get the Ouija boards out, because the things that come from that never end up being good. And the scary thing is that they will manipulate the situation on the board. So you think dear old Auntie Peggy's come through, and she's giving you all the answers you want,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden it turns like that. And
yeah,
at that point, once your guard has dropped, you'll soon find out it isn't dear old Auntie Peggy. And then even if you smash the glass or shut the board down, it's too late.
Too
They're
late.
always.
It's open.
yeah.
So my advice is not to use them, period. And if you are thinking of that, do your research on people who do know what they're doing, and contact them first.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for that information.
Thank you,
Okay.
Paul. And so I know that this has a strong connection to the other aspect of what you do, which is more in the physical space. And I know that right now, mental health is like a really big deal now, a really big uh, thing here in the States, and I'm sure maybe over there where you are as well. And how does the work that you do coincide with mental health?
Well, first and foremost, I'm also a therapist, so I've NLP master practitioner. I've done emotional stress therapy. I've worked in body language and deceit. I deal with addiction. So it's there's a for you have to kind of cross all borders, if you like.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
with possession and mental health, there's a very, very, very fine line.
Mhm.
There are people that are in situations where they might be misdiagnosed as schizophrenic, that may be possessed, and there might be people who are possessed who are schizophrenic. It's a fine line. It's all about fabrication. If it's fabricated to a point where um, as a human that over time your mental health will go down and down and down and down and down, and you will know that how you feel, and you can't feel that you're getting you can't feel can get yourself out of that hole. If it's demonic or attachment wise, then something's wrong. But it's kind of from this day it changed, from that day it changed. Mental health is quite a slow progression down that road. But but I deal with both, and it's also about removing blocks as well. You know, those energy blocks, whether they be physical or mental.
So it sounds like it's almost, if there is a possession, there's almost like a multi-level healing that goes on from the actual entity that might be attached, but also all the blocks and everything held on around that as well.
Yeah, as said, I also do Obe Therapy, which is out-body experience therapy. So allowing people to sort of leave their bodies to clear any energies that are out. That's one way of doing it. If it's therapy wise, then it's normally over sort of 3 or 4 sessions where you kind of mix the two. They may not realize that, but you're mixing the two to get the job done, to get them clear, and to get them into a space where they can now feel better about themselves. So it's all about helping people, really.
It is, and it's beautiful. And thank you for stepping in and doing the work you do, because it is so important.
It's amazing because, you know, since we're so close to Halloween, but this just isn't for Halloween. This is all year round.
Well, why are you going like this?
Is that when things become a mess?
I tell you why. I think adults cause more problems in Halloween than anybody else, because they think that is the time to do the black magic. That is the time to watch the scary movie. That is the time to love the energy.
Well, wouldn't you say that is conditioned though, Paul? Isn't like societal conditioning, you know?
Well, it is to a degree, but
okay.
I mean the real, I mean, Halloween comes from All Hallows, which is a pagan festival.
Yes, exactly.
And you know, the rest of the world has decided that it's now the 31st, and it's the day where all the dark stuff comes out. And you know, any other time of the year, kids will be told that it's a load of rubbish, it doesn't exist, there's nothing there, ghosts and goblins, all that stuff. But only one day of the year they're allowed. You're allowed to sort of say, oh yeah, they do.
It's like, let's all pack up a wagon and go to the cemetery.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, if you did it any other time, you know, parents would go, no, that's not happening. But you know, I used to be sort of a big fan of Halloween, but over previous years, I've seen how it really does affect people in such a way where they kind of think they've got some special power, so that, you know, that let's all get together and call in these things, and you know, that's the real fear for me. And I know it comes across, and people, it's a bit of fun, which is how it should be. But you know, if you went and knocked on somebody's door and said, give me sweets any other time of the year, right, they'd tell you to clear off.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
It is acceptable at this point of the year, but not acceptable any other time of the year. And I don't understand the connection between ghosts, goblins, whatever, and knocking on people's doors. I don't understand it. And well, the fact is, it's a pagan festival. But there's no money in pagan festivals, but there is lots of money
in selling candy.
Yeah, exactly that.
Well, you know, I'm just gonna put in my 2 cents here in regards to this. You know,
do you still go trick-or-treating, Hillis?
Huh?
You still go trick-or-treating, don't you?
No, I don't even give out candy.
I'm joking.
But you know, it's interesting because when you look over the spectrum of the calendar, you know, and in America, I don't know how it is for you guys over there, but you look at the spectrum of the calendar, and everything is tied to some sort of belief system. You know, the Christian belief system, or this belief system, or that belief system. And so, you know, over here we have like so many holidays. I call them, to a point now where I call them Hallmark holidays is because, people are, like Secretary's Day and Boss's Day and Grandparents' Day and National Siblings Day and all these days. I mean, it's nothing wrong with celebrating, right? I get it. But when you create the celebration or create a day just to make money or to have recognition, it's not necessarily needed. And so when you have these valued traditions from the pagans and from the Druids and from these other times, it just begs the question of why would you take something that was so valued, so treasured, and had a different connotation to it, a different meaning and purpose, and turn it into something like this and bastardize the true meaning of it. So that way, it's almost in a sense of slapping it in the face. Well, if we change the belief system of this, then no one can believe or tap into the true essence of what this truly is. And that's what I feel that what this and other holidays have turned into, is to strip away the truth, the essence of the purpose of the celebrations.
Yeah, and this, I totally agree with that. And I think, there is a part of me that says, let kids have their fun. If they want to
Exactly, yeah.
I'm not saying don't do it, but let kids have their fun. Let them dress up, but teach them the real meaning. That actually, yeah, fine, you can dress up as ghosts and ghouls and all that sort of stuff and go around knocking on people's doors. That's up to you. But teach people the true meaning of the pagan festival of All Hallows and what it actually means.
Yes.
It's again, we go back to education once again. To education, I'm all for people enjoying themselves as long as you educate the people in the real meaning first, and then say, great, now you understand. Yeah, I understand it. Right, go enjoy yourself. I'm not saying don't do it. What I'm saying is that let people know the truth and the true meaning of it first, before you spend loads of money on it. It's and as you say, right across the calendar, why is there one day that we have to sort of who chose the day to say it's Father's Day, who chose the day to say it's Mother's Day, who chose the day, to say it's St. Andrew's Day, St. George's Day. I think that these things go through there's and as you say before, it's all about this at some point, and I struggle with it. I do struggle with it because every month there's something to shell out for, and if you don't shell out for it, you feel, you're made to feel that you're different from everybody else. And I think, unfortunately, that's the sort of society's kind of the controlling ways. But we're all free spirit, and we should be, able to decide. When I can celebrate my dad, when I can celebrate my mum, I celebrate my mum, dad every day. I don't need a special day of the week or day of the year to do it.
Exactly.
You should be grateful for what you have every day, not just once a year.
Exactly.
With the exception of your birthday, I highly, highly recommend that's your personal day, and that's the day for you. And no one can tell you what to do but you. But that's every day. But birthdays are like. I'm sorry.
I never work on my birthday.
Yeah, I never work either. I don't do anything that I don't know. Heck, sometimes I used to take a whole month off when I used to work. Well, not a whole month off, but when I used to work in corporate America, my birthday's in the middle of the month, so I will celebrate before and after.
Yeah,
I always do something.
There you go. And Paul, I loved what you were just talking about, and you brought up so many good points around that, because it is what all that is truly about, is teaching the truth. We've been lied to. Society's been lied to on so many different levels. I like to call it universal fuckery. But it's getting back to the truth. Untricking yourself from it, because that's what's going on in society. It's all built on the greed and all this, and we need to expand out to see the truth of what the truth of everything right now and get away from what has been taught to us to free ourselves from the control that's been placed upon us of keeping us small.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going to say about that.
Totally agree.
Indeed. And speaking
You
of,
have a
I
fun
feel
story to tell us?
who, me?
Sorry.
No, Paul.
Oh,
What?
Fun story.
The story?
What are
Sorry,
you telling me about Jason and the train or something?
Oh, yeah, Jason. Okay. This is as I sit here, the truth. It's a bit long-winded, but I'll try and speed it along. So, when I mentioned earlier on that I moved away to Manchester and something happened. And when I came back from Manchester, all my friends were in Reading, which is where I came back to, and I'd arranged to go and see them, sort of when I came back. But I also went to see a medium because I thought I had a bit of a rough time. I go and see a medium, and the medium said to me, "You'll feel compelled to stop at a graveyard. I don't know which one, and you'll know when you get there." And I was like, "Well, that's a bit weird, isn't it? I don't I know I'm into this stuff, but what a strange thing for anybody to say." So I just went, "Yeah, okay, thanks very much. Here's your money. Good luck to you." So a couple of days later, I had arranged to see my friends. I'm stood at the bus stop. The number 17 bus, as it was, always took about 20 minutes to get into town. And on this particular evening, I was stood by the bus stop. Bus came around the corner. I got on, paid my money. There was nobody else on the bus or downstairs except one guy who was sat right at the back of the bus. And I got on the bus, paid my money, walked down the bus, and it was a friend of mine called Jason. And we had a nice chat on the bus all the way into town. I was, what you doing? So and he said something really strange to me. So I'm retired. And at the time, I was like 28 years old. I was like, retired, 28 years old? Because, I'm going into town tonight to DJ at a club. I was like, oh, great. And I'm going to town to meet my mates. And we went into town. He said, great to see you, mate. He said, I'll come along later. So, yeah, great. Well, I'll see if I can. So went to see my mates, thought nothing of it. Didn't go to the club that he was going to be at that night. Probably too many throughout the bits of the night. Anyway, a few days later, I'm on my way home, and I'd passed this church and this graveyard many times before. And this one particular day, and I didn't think about it at the time, and I stopped at the graveyard. So I'm just like, you got to stop here. You got to stop here. So I stopped at the graveyard. I thought, what am I even doing here? It's like, no, somebody's tell me I've got to walk through the gates. So I walked through the gates. It's about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon at this point, sun shining, gentle breeze blowing. Walked down the path, again asking myself, what on earth am I doing here? There's no reason for me to, I don't know anybody who did. Go right to the edge, finish to the edge of the path, and there's the final line of graves on the right hand side, and one of them's got a load of balloons around it, and there's a lantern with a light in it. So I thought, I'm going to go and look at that one. So I walked up to it, and the balloons are dancing around and stuff. So I moved the balloons to one side, only to see a picture of Jason on the grave, and he'd been dead 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And I thought to myself, nah, that just didn't happen. That was like 2 days ago. And it really did. It shook me up, because we'd had a 20-minute conversation, and when he said to me, and I looked back and I thought, retired? Yeah, of course you were retired. When I sort of looked into it, it turned out that he hung himself 2 years prior to that.
Wow.
And it really did it shook me up big time, because it's like, no, I had a full-blown conversation with him, and he was as I had no reason to believe anything. He was full bodied. You know, you couldn't see through him. There's no apparition or anything. It was full as you like. I had no reason to believe he was anything else but fully human. So yeah, that's the 17 and the 17 bus and the Jason story.
Oh,
Wow. Somebody asked, Colette asked, great story, I believe. Why did he appear to you?
Good question. I used to get bullied quite a lot at school, and Jason was the one who stopped the bullying, and he was kind of part of the, you know, the popular gang, if you like.
Gotcha.
But although he was part of the popular gang, he always kind of stopped me from being targeted. So I believe that would be the reason.
So you feel like he was there to let you know that he even though he's passed on, he's still there for you, protecting you in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
How beautiful is that?
I love that. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing that to open up to, you know, for people to know that these experiences happen in the world. And these are out there, and this happens, and this is part of the world we live in, even though you can't see it, but not to be afraid of it, because they walk among us and part of us, even if we can't see or hear or feel them.
And I always say to people, you know, if somebody's passed who you had a really good connection with, and they've shown themselves to you, not to be scared, because if you weren't scared of them when they were alive, why be scared of them in spirit? Because they're still the same. They're still the same spirit. They're still the same person, if you like. They just don't have a heartbeat, but they retain that. You know, they retain that kindness.
Exactly.
So I always say to people, don't be scared of it.
I love it. I love it. So,
say something.
No, I was gonna say, is it time?
Time for what?
For the tune-up.
Oh, am I doing a tune-up tonight?
Well, you don't have to, but it wouldn't be fun tonight without a tune-up.
But before we do the tune-up, Paul's experienced my tune-ups.
Something I've never experienced before. I mean, you reach tones that are just mind-blowing.
Oh, thank you for that. I'm so honored. So, yeah, but before we do that, how do people, if they'd like to get in touch with Paul to for a session or to work with him or have questions, or did we put his web? There you go.
Hey. Yeah, that's the website. There's loads of things on the website. There's information about me. There's the work I do sort of on the spiritual side and therapy side as well. There's loads of podcasts about my work of exorcisms, which have all been, you know, for the people that I've helped. I get permission from those people, and I've done podcasts on them. So it's the stories of those. You can buy them all together or individually. There's a couple of freebies and an interview on the further in the website, and there's also a minute clip of my audiobook, which is due out. Well, it says at the end of the month, but there's been a few hitches, so Universe have asked me to put it back to sort of end of November. So but the audiobook will be definitely out by the end of November, but there is a minute clip on there if you want to pre-order it, or get in touch with me, or you know, organize a chat or whatever. All the information's on there to do. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, Paul, I thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been such an honor. We could have talked forever. We might have to have you back, have some more conversations.
Always.
Paul, you can hang out with us while we do the tune-up. You don't have to go like right away.
No, I'm not going. I'm not. When I heard the word tune-up, I thought there's no way I'm going yet.
I just wanted to thank him because I was actually on the phone with Paul today, and I told him about the podcast. Like, why you come on? So here he is. So magic back, and it happens all the time. So like all about going with the flow, right?
Indeed.
Okay, is everybody ready for a little tune-up?
Wait a minute, I gotta do my thing.
Okay, do your thing.
It's been a minute. It's been a month since I did one of these with you. I gotta stretch my tune-up muscles.
Oh, you tune-upping or I'm tune-upping? Oh, you're getting yourself in. What are you doing, Hillis? See, we don't know what we do, Paul. We just do. What are you doing?
I'm following your lead. I'm going to open up the energies, connect to you, and use stream.
Okay, I'll stream. Okay. And somebody put down here real quick. Awesome conversation, Paul. Please come back.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
Okay, Paul. Everyone. Hillis, are you ready? Are you still in hurricane energy there?
Yeah, I'm going to be. Actually, you know what? So I actually did go out in the hurricane before it got really bad, and I actually connected and stored up some hurricane energy.
Oh my! Well, I get enough of that. I don't need that.
So maybe we can use some winds of change tonight, people, as we step into this new energy.
Everybody hold on.
As we step into this new energy, birthing the newness of self, allowing us to know who we are, allowing us to step into the beginnings of the next phase of our life. And as Rebecka does this in energy, as she brings forth this energy, what I'm being guided to express to each and every one of you who's watching this now or later is to hold a vision that you wish for your life. And it can be as small as taking the next step or phase or seeing the final outcome of what you are working on. So just allow that to be your anchor point. Allow that to be your center as we allow for these energies to be open and to come in as we are now connected to the space.
Everybody take a deep breath in. And as you take a deep breath in, I'd like you to drop down into your heart space, the space of creation, the space of opening, the space where we need to function from in this world, in this time, in this place, in this energy that we're creating together. Take another deep breath in. Allow that to settle in. And back to your heart. Take a deep breath in. Sounds like we had an orchestra of puppies joining us this evening.
Indeed. With Cosmo and everyone else.
Yeah, buddy.
I love
Thank
it.
you so much for everyone. And put your hand on your heart and a hand on your stomach and bring yourself back home to you and allow the vibration of you to go out in this world and shine and be the light you truly are.
Until next time, everyone, keep exploring.
And remember, don't limit yourself, create yourself, be the change in you. Mwah. Thank you so much, Paul, for being with us tonight.
Keep